It's Brian Preston, the Money Guy.
How has technology changed the way we process and actually work? Because that's an important concept too.
Yeah, so again, we live in this world, Brian, where we help people in our day jobs. We're fee-only financial advisors, where we help people make wise financial decisions and build towards financial independence. Well, the way that this business used to be done was you come into the office and you sit down in the conference room and you have the meeting and you do the discovery. Technology has changed that. It's made the world a very different place than it was 15, 20 years ago, that now you can work with clients all over the country, even all over the world, without having to have someone right down the street to work with.
We are the benefit. This is twofold. This is you, the worker, your physical location, but it's also how you work with service providers. Sure. And I know we've talked about it. I've given speeches at conferences where I bring up this stat that there's Pew Research does a study is online dating is a good way to meet people. They looked at what was the general public's mindset in 2005 versus 2013. And in 2005, less than half, 44%, felt like online dating was a good way to meet people. Fast forward to 2013, I'm sure this data has actually been updated, but this is what I pulled from my presentation I did. 2013, it was 59%. So I imagine it's even been more.
It's much higher now.
But this is the perfect thing. I remember, Bo, when we started picking up our first clients in 2008, 2009, around tax season time, when our clients needed some of their tax documents to give their CPA, they were embarrassed to let their CPA know they worked with an advisor that was in a different state. And they'd be like, well, how did you meet this advisor? Well, he's got this show called The Money Guy. I mean, it's a little awkward. Now, no problem whatsoever. I think that there's definitely a way people have accepted, and that's why we have clients in 41 states. But it goes beyond that. Think about this. We just had this pandemic. Mm-hmm. This, under traditional sense, should totally derail a lot of the service industry. It should disrupt our ability to do things. But what did it do? A lot of companies have already been taking steps. We were fortunate that we were able to send the team home to work from home because we already use Slack.
Yep.
I mean, this is, if you even told me, what a name for a company, Slack. It sounds like you're goofing off to a degree, but it's actually a very productive tool. You can do the virtual calls. You can securely share files. A lot of cool stuff is going on there. And then think about, we've been using GoToMeeting and other things like that for years. A lot of powerful stuff, and to the point that, Bo, you moved up to Tennessee in 2014.
That's right. What's really remarkable is even though we were thinking about changing locations, moving our business from Georgia to Nashville, we were able to do that systematically without shutting down and having to draw the line in the sand. I was able to come up in 2015. You and your family transitioned over 2015, I came in 2014. You and your family was 2015, 2016. And that transition was very smooth because we were able to work virtually. We were still able to interact with people back in the office and still touch base with clients. I don't know that when you first started working back in the mid-90s, if we would have been able to even make that move as seamlessly as we did.
No, it was definitely. I mean, I can think back. I mean, I love how it gives you the mobility. But working virtually, because there was that year of 2015, 2016, I was actually working in two locations. Mm-hmm. Technology made it so much better as I was closing things down back in Georgia. But it made me, because we recently, we had an outside party that needed a document. They asked us for a fax. Guys, you should have seen us scrambling around the office. How do we send a fax? I mean, because we haven't sent a fax in forever. And here's what's crazy. I'm old enough that I remember snail mail is how you got stuff. Think about that, is that, by the way, the year I started doing taxes, I graduated in the mid-90s.
Right.
The year I started doing tax preparation in the mid-90s, they had just gone to, I believe it was still a DOS-based system, but instead of, realize tax preparers many, many moons ago used to do a Scantron sheet, send it off to the service, and then you'd get a tax return back from the service with the completed tax return. So you had to do this Scantron
just perfectly.
That sounds
grotesquely inefficient.
I never did it that way because it was I was the first DOS-based year where we were doing on green screens the tax preparation. Mm-hmm. This is all before Windows-based type stuff. Unbelievable how that's changed. I think about thinking about how communications occurred too with paperwork. You used to have to mail applications. Sure. You used to have to do everything like that. Now, I don't even know what a fax. We went from snail mail to faxes to now we do everything through DocuSigns, virtual signing. Right. It really has made even real estate closings are so much easier now because you're doing everything through electronic signatures. It really has revolutionized. Also, another way it's easier to work with service providers anywhere because you're not having to trade documents face to face like you used to.
It makes life a lot easier, and it makes it a lot more convenient because I remember when I closed my very first house, even trying to just coordinate when to show up and when to get everything was difficult. Well, now that I can just say, okay, well, email it to me, I'll electronically sign it, I can get stuff done at 11 o'clock at night if I need to. It's allowed me as a consumer, but also me as a producer in this economy to be exponentially more efficient than I was able to be previously.
So let's talk about how do you do this right?
Sure.
I think the first thing is to know which meetings and communications can be streamlined by virtual tools.
Yeah, and I think this is so funny, but I remember when I first started working with you, this is a while now, you had never heard of this thing called text messaging, right?
Oh, gosh.
So if we were going to have some sort of communication, I would need to come knock on your door or wait till outside the next day. And I remember I started texting you, and you actually got mad at me back then. I actually got reprimanded when I first started working with you because every text message I sent you cost a dime. It was 10 cents at the time. You're like, and I was used to, because I was on the unlimited plan, hey, Brian, can I do this thing? And you'd send me one back and say, yes, please do this. And I'd say, okay, great. You say, don't send me okay, great. That adds no value. Why on the earth would you run my text messaging bill up like that? I think about that level of communication to how efficient now we can do in-office instant messaging anywhere in the world and how quick that happens. I do think,
looking back, because I hired you came on board in 2008, and it's true, I had a limited text message because I was text messaging with no one. If I needed to talk to my wife, I'd call her. And then I wish if we'd have had the wherewithal, Bo, we would have taken some screenshots because and Bo is not wrong. I would write a paragraph. If I was sending him a text, it would be a paragraph. Bo would write 3 words and then send me 4 different texts. And I'm sitting there, you can imagine, old man who doesn't have unlimited text. I'm like, I'm going to strangle him for sending me this string of texts. It is kind of funny now when I don't know of anybody who's not on. Is there a plan that's not unlimited text? I mean, it kind of blows your mind when you see how many texts you send in a month. But it is, if you're looking at how to do it right, it goes beyond that. And even because text messaging even seems old school when you take into account the way we now communicate with Zoom meetings. I mean, you think about, we've been using GoToMeeting, which is a form of that. They kind of are competitors. Think about this. We used to buy Microsoft Office disk to put in our computers. Whenever you bought a brand new laptop, you had to go buy Microsoft Office. Now you just do a 365 subscription. Right. Most software has gone subscription-based. That makes things. And then servers, you don't see servers. You're using Google Docs, Google Suite, so you can have real-time everybody updating stuff at the same time. All that stuff makes it what meetings can be streamlined so that you don't have to jump on an airplane, so you don't have to drive across town. I think that's the biggest thing, is that we even have clients in Nashville that would rather do a virtual meeting than an in-person meeting sometimes.
Absolutely. And why is this valuable? Because we all know that, and you've heard this 1,000 times, time is money. So if there's some tool or some way that you can communicate that can save you an email, that can save you a trip, that can save you a phone call, it's worth doing, because ultimately, at the end of the day, that's probably going to save time, which is valuable, and also it's going to save money that you're going to be able to use to build your army of dollar bills.
And that's what just kind of close it out. DocuSign, e-signature type things, because if you can get the forms, think about somebody who needs a process done, an account service done on their investment account. Now we can literally send them the application or the form. They can sign it. We can process it really within 30 minutes to an hour, which is unbelievable. Quickly. You can open brand new accounts. Think about that. It used to take 3 or 4 days to open an account. You can do it instantaneously to a degree.
In a moment.